and welcome to our time. She started dancing when she was 10, later moving to Melbourne into the Australian Ballet School. Later, turned up at the Moulin Rouge in Paris, naively wondering if they'd give her a job. And guess what? They did. Eventually, when she came home, she created her own performance company in Australia, which also sent shows to Japan. Then she went back to university and became a psychologist, specialising in sleep disorders in children. And now she's woken up to be here. Hello.
Hi,
Sarah.
hi Malcolm.
How lovely to see you.
It's lovely to be here.
What a backstory you've got.
Yeah, it's a bit complicated, isn't it?
Who thought,
Who would have
as
thought?
a 10-year-old girl going to dance classes, was it Joanne Priest here in Adelaide?
It wasn't. It was a woman called Dorothy Lane at the time.
Okay.
I went to Dorothy Lane first, and then my mum pulled me out and sent me to Joanne Priest, but I was at Joanne Priest for, the rest of my time.
Right.
Yeah.
And then to Melbourne.
And then to Melbourne, yeah. Did 2 years full-time ballet to be able to do the audition, because at the time the Australian Ballet School was the only place for tertiary ballet stuff in Australia. So
How are your toes now?
Oh my gosh, they're terrible. They are such a mess. The podiatrist kind of goes, oh my gosh. He brings in all the students in to look at my feet and go, look at those feet, they're pretty impressive.
Well, the reason we're saying that, because anyone that did toe work
That's right.
ended up with twisted toes.
That's right.
Sad,
yeah.
isn't it? And you see all those girls dancing on point and you think, oh, we know what you're going to be like in the future. Although I think there's a lot more care now.
There's a lot more care now, yeah. But it's so beautiful. It is beautiful. I mean, I think it's beautiful, obviously.
Unless you're doing it.
Unless you're doing it, yes.
It's agony.
That's right.
And such an appreciation for what the dancers do. But anyway, this is all about you, not about them. What did you think you were going to do or be when you were doing all of that, when you were studying dance?
I wanted to be a ballet dancer. As I said, only one person from each state, one girl, one boy, get taken into the Australian Ballet School. So I thought I was in with a chance. Didn't make it through to the company straight away. It's a long story, but I
We've got half an hour.
Yes. There was a change of directorship, ballet mistress at the time, and I wasn't the type of dancer that she liked. She was a real technician. I wasn't that much of a technician, apparently. And they always said, go off to Europe and they wanted me to do contemporary dance, and I wasn't really into contemporary dance at the time. I really wanted to be a ballerina. So you
wanted to be the Swan?
I wanted to be the Swan. I actually wanted to be Juliet.
Oh, okay.
Romeo and Juliet and Kitri and Don Quixote were my two favourite pieces. I ended up doing, I was in the company for their film of Don Q that they did, so I was doing extra stuff.
With Robert Hillman?
With Robert Hillman and Nereva and Lucette Ordis. So they were my two pieces that I wanted to do as a principal. Of course, I never made it to principal. I made it to soloist. But then I went overseas and did...
Can we spot you in the film?
You probably can if you look back, yeah. Have to look at that again.
Yes.
Yeah, in the back there. Yeah. So once I was overseas, I realised that classical ballet was, I love classical ballet, but it's very difficult to live in Paris, which is where I was living, and not eat and not party and not do anything, just go to ballet every day and go to class.
And climb up all those stairs.
Climb up all those stairs.
I've just been to Paris and fifth floor.
Yeah.
Oh,
and all the dance studios are on the top floor, of course. Yeah. But I also got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in the middle of that first year overseas, not knowing what that actually meant or what it was.
What does it mean?
It's an autoimmune disease where your body attacks itself, and it attacks the joints, and then it attacks the tendons and the muscles and eventually the organs. And I realised I had something going on with my body when I was training to be a ballet dancer. But because we do terrible things to our bodies, particularly back then, these days, fortunately, we're much better at that.
Better
understanding, better training. And so I just thought it was the pains were just ballet pains, but they turned out to be arthritis pains. Right. So I probably had it lingering in my body when I was about 15, I reckon, but diagnosed at 21, and I was in full flight of my career over in dancing classical ballet in European companies.
So tell me the story of turning up at the Moulin Rouge and saying, "You got a job for me?"
Yes, a bit funny. I was living in Paris, dancing with a company called Ballet Classique de Paris, which is a classical company that had year on year, not a full-time contract, but from about September through to May, we would do a tour of Central Europe, and we would change towns every night and do
Through winter.
Yeah, through winter in Europe.
Cold.
Well, I thought it was wonderful because being an Australian, sorry, that was probably gone bash. Being an Australian and no snow, we were in Germany in the Alps. It was just beautiful, and I thought I was in seventh heaven doing ballet. I became a soloist in that company. We did in Sleeping Beauty. Seeing Central Europe and snow, it was just fabulous. And then, of course, it stopped in May, and I find myself back in Paris with no money, how am I going to pay my rent? So
not cheap to live in Paris.
Cheap to live in Paris. So I was living in Montmartre, which is back of where the Moulin Rouge is situated, in a gorgeous little grotto.
I was living there too.
Were you? It's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, only 50 years later.
That's right. And I walked past the Moulin Rouge and said, I wonder if they have a job. I might just go and ask them for a job, not knowing anything about what that actually means. It really wasn't my aim in life to be part of the Moulin Rouge. And I walked in and I said, do you need any dancers? They said, well, actually, we have an audition tomorrow. Come along tomorrow. And I just happened to stumble across that audition and got the job. Yeah, pretty lucky really, because I did a 6-month contract and then a year contract between going back and forward to the classical ballet companies.
Well, how amazing.
Yes.
Weren't you lucky?
Yes.
Because the shows are just extraordinary there, really.
Yes.
It's the last big cabaret show in the world.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Apparently so. When I was there, and
Lido's closed.
Yeah, the Lido's closed. Folies Bergère's closed. Yeah, so that's right. I mean, I think Paris d'Alitaine is probably still there. I don't know, but it's not the same grandiose.
No, it's probably I saw it just recently. And amazing. Anyway, if you ever go to Paris, if you ever get to Paris, go to the Moulin Rouge. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it's an experience. It really is. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So you're working over there, and did you come home because of parents, or
I came home every 2 years.
Food?
I managed to keep myself alive. Actually, my parents thought, and particularly my brother, thought I'd be back in 6 months because he said, "Oh, there's no way that I'm going to survive over there." Well, I ended up being 12 years away, but I would come back every 2 years because at the time, the Adelaide Festival was every 2 years, and I came back to be with my family, and I also was speaking fluent French at the time, so I did a lot of work with the Adelaide Festival when there was a French dance company.
Right.
Peter Brook came over, they have French stage crew.
Oh, right.
I worked with...
We don't often think of that, the need for somebody to speak the language to help set the show up, basically, and tell them the lighting cues or whatever.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I ended up doing quite a bit of work for the Adelaide Festival. I'd come back every 2 years and do that, and that was great fun, and go back over, by which time I was getting more into cabaret, European-style cabaret, doing some contemporary dancing, dance theatre, just playing around. I did some singing and some modelling and learnt to do Spanish dancing and tapping. It was such fun. Did anything I could do. Anything I could find, I did it. Yeah.
The perfect way.
The perfect way, yeah. What's not to love about that?
But, what made you stay here and start the show company?
When I came, I turned 30 in Paris, and I saw all my friends, and the last job I'd had was a really good job as a soloist in this American touring jazz company, really, really good company, and they wanted a classical dancer who could do jazz, so that was a nice mix because a lot of people don't have that good mix. But they were going to go back to America. I didn't want to go, and I thought I would stay in Paris, and I thought at 30, you're becoming a bit of an aged dancer because dancing is a very finite and small time.
That's true, but put on the false eyelashes, a bit of slap.
The slap's fine, but it's the body that doesn't hold up.
Doesn't want to play anymore.
That's right, it doesn't want to play anymore.
In fact, that's such a very important thing to understand, isn't it? That dancers have such a short lifespan.
That's right.
And they work so hard to have the short lifespan.
Yeah. And on top of that, I had the arthritis that was biting a little bit. So I thought I would go back to Australia, and I found a Frenchman and married him and brought him back. And we decided that we would try and set up, do a show for the Adelaide Fringe at the time. And we did that.
Very early Fringe.
That was very early Fringe, that's right. And that was a contemporary piece. And then I thought, actually I could see that happening. So we decided that we had a really good contract where my husband was a stage manager of this 78, it was called 78 Champs-Élysées. It was a fabulous French cabaret. And I was soloist and he was the stage manager. And we shut down for the summer. And I said, look, I think I'll go back to Australia to do the Fringe and do the festival and see if we can get something happening. And they said, if not, come back and you can get a job here or stay over in Australia. Well, we ended up getting something happening and it worked and we stayed. So that was a long time ago, but we...
Well, yes, and because more people were going out And things were changing there, like theatre restaurants
Yes,
had
yes.
opened and were sort of moving to a conclusion as well. That was another thing that was happening.
That's
so
true.
you were touring all over the place, weren't you, with the shows?
Yeah, that's right.
And the Japanese?
The Japanese shows. Some of my best mates that I was dancing with in Paris, one was American, went back to America and did that, sent over shows to Japan, and then he retired, and I was just coming to Australia in the time that he said, "Why don't you take my contacts?" And so we thought, well, that's a very good idea because we were running the shows in Adelaide and South Australia, so we rumbled together the costumes. We literally made the costumes, some of the feathers, and got some really good costumes
Because they
done.
were showgirl type
They
shows.
They were showgirl.
Yeah.
What I call tits and feathers. Should I be saying that? Should I be saying that on camera?
No, not at 7 o'clock at night. You can't.
I contacted the Japanese contacts, and they said, "Come on over." So I sent 3 years worth of shows over to Japanese.
Incredible. Now, we're going to come back in a minute and we're going to talk about the other part of your life, what you're doing now, which is really quite extraordinary. So join us in a moment and we'll find out more about Sarah and sleep. Sarah Blunden is my special guest. We're about to talk about the rest of her career, which is amazing. Amaze us with what happened to you.
Well, I, as a dancer, I didn't have anything but dancing. So we realised, my husband, who's French and came out to Australia, didn't speak any English. He said, "Well, you need to get a real job now." So, yeah, quote.
Well, so do you.
Yeah. So because he didn't speak English, he said, I applied to go to university. I wanted to do theatre management. That's what we were doing. I need to get an undergraduate degree for that. So
Because you were managing the shows that you were creating, of
that's
course.
right, yeah. So I thought that would be perfect. So I needed an undergraduate degree. I thought I'd do a BA in arts or BA in dance or something, but I ended up doing a BA in psychology because my mother said, "You'd be good at psychology, you should try psychology." So I was just going to do a BA in psychology and then do the postgraduate degree in theatre management. But then I realised that actually theatre management was actually hard to do in South Australia. There weren't that many theatres that wanted to be managed. And I really didn't want to go to the eastern states because I'd been travelling for 12 years. I wanted to kind of hang out at home.
Just want to stay home.
Just want to stay home. So I took psychology and kept going, and then I realised that I really love psychology. I still regret that I'm not a theatre manager, but maybe in my next life. I took psychology.
Won't like it. This is what people don't realise, though. In a place like South Australia or Adelaide particularly, theatre manager also has to clean the toilets sometimes and vacuum the floor and pick up the rubbish under the seat.
Sounds romantic, doesn't it? But it's probably not.
It sounds so romantic, but it isn't. And you can talk to any of us that are theatre managers and we all say the same thing.
Okay, well now I'm glad that I didn't do it. Thank you.
Yes. See? You just forget that completely now.
So
just come and sit in a seat and enjoy a show.
Indeed, lovely. Yes. So I took psychology. I got through honours. I got through doing research into sleep. The reason that when we do psychology, you need to do a research degree as well as all your theoretical stuff. And I said that I wanted to do work with children. And the only thing that was going at the time that was available with a supervisor was a sleep research project. So I said, okay, I'll do sleep. And I just literally fell into it. Sleep and psychology were a very new field back then. So
just before you explain that part, just explain to us what really is psychology.
Okay. So psychology is the study of behaviour and the reasons why we behave the way we do.
That's such a good explanation, isn't it? The reasons why we behave the way we behave.
And, we're curious as human beings. I wonder why Malcolm's doing that. I wonder why that person over there is. I wonder why they're angry. I wonder that checkout chick.
Are you angry? Why are you angry? Camera 2. Look, she's looking behind there saying, I'm not angry.
Not angry, not angry.
No.
So it's understanding why things happen, Because if we are angry, then that's going to make in dynamics in relationships, mothers and children. Why do kids act out at school? All that kind of stuff.
That's also going to affect you physically, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
You'll be sending out bad whatever the chemicals are.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the negative hormones.
Yeah. You said that so well. You must be a professional.
I think that psychology is really cool because I've always been a very curious person, and I guess you've got to have an innate empathy, compassion for people and wanting to help people, because essentially...
Yeah. Do you think that comes from being a performer?
I think it may well be, because I think there is an enormous amount of interpersonal connection that happens as a performer and clearly as a psychologist too. I think that what I do know from having been a performer and then going to university and studying and ended up doing a PhD is that we ex-performers have an enormous amount of discipline and we can really get stuff done.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of discipline.
You've got so many letters before your name, Professor Alphabet. What are all those letters before your name?
Fellow of the...
You're a professor.
Yeah, I'm a professor, yeah. Fellow of the Australian Psychological Society, a member of the Australian Psychological Society Sleep, a BA in psychology, an honours degree in psychology, a master in clinical psychology, and a master in social sciences counselling, and the doctorate.
So what do you do in your spare time now?
Well, now I...
Don't have to answer that one. No, but let's talk about the sleep situation, because that's really interesting, particularly sleep in children, because, again, that's something that, we just think, well, kids tire themselves out and go to sleep, don't they?
And don't they?
Yeah, don't they?
And the thing that the sleep psychology section of that is, this little person is not sleeping well. Why aren't they sleeping well? Is it a physical thing? So I did my PhD in a hospital and learnt all about the physical sleep disorders, but really that's not my gig. I'm not a medical doctor, right? But when I realised that there were a whole range and a whole group of kids that just didn't want to sleep by themselves.
Well, just go back. So a physical thing could be they've got a pain, or, they've got another issue.
Or they've got asthma, or they snore, or they had sleep apnea, which is when the upper airway closes over and there's no air or oxygen getting through, nightmares, night terrors, that kind of physical thing.
Right.
The psychology of sleep is largely not being able to get to sleep, not being able to stay asleep, and that is categorised as a sleep psychology thing because we are usually worried, stressed, depressed, anxious, out of whack with our internal systems. It's a sleep psychology things.
I guess everyone now is talking about and probably just thinking, oh, that's because they've been on their phone for too long.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And they've got the blue screen thing and the fear of missing out thing and all of that. Yeah.
But
is that the case?
It is certainly the case, and the science is very clear. That's one of the causes. But I remember when, I hate to say how old I am, but I remember when TV was coming in, 3.5, when I was coming and television was coming in, and television was going to be the doom and gloom of life.
That's right.
And of course, radio and all that kind of stuff, it was going to be the end of civilization as we know it. Social media is very different, and the portable screens are very detrimental to sleep, but to a lot of other stuff too. We've got to balance it out.
But you're right in more ways than one. Yes, you're right. It was the black and white TV that we first had, and we're all going to get square eyes was the thing then, square eyes. And then colour came in, and people sort of softened because, we can sort of relax, and this can be a rewarding, relaxing time.
Yes.
Because the initial stuff was, I've got to watch everything before it disappears, sort of thing.
Yes.
Now with phones, they've become more or less part of our bodies that we can't put down and we can't stop paying attention to.
That's right. There's so many negative outcomes from social media. There are a great amount of fabulous outcomes too. The pendulum has swung so far to the extreme.
Yeah. It's a world of knowledge to start with at your fingertips.
That's right.
But I'm sure you can explain this, but the problem is that because of the swiping sideways thing, and because we know that, we can just Google that or whatever platform you're using, we're not retaining anything.
That's right.
So it must be affecting our bodies as well, because we're not being able to sort of completely relax. We've just, what's the next thing? do people still want to know what I'm doing?
Yes.
Who cares?
Interesting that you say that. And yes, we don't need to problem solve as much. We don't need to use our deeper or higher order thinking skills, which is what we must do to get on in life. But also when you say that there's got to be something else that might be affected by the social media and by the sleep, it's really about that social media and the screens are taking over a whole range of our decisions, our cognitive capacity. We just let somebody else do it. And then we kind of lose it, and then we don't need it. But then when you talked about relaxing and, we need to kind of relax and get off our social media, the younger generation actually relax with social media.
Right.
So we of the generation that didn't grow up with these phones and this portable stuff would relax in different ways. And so we, of course, think that relaxing, well, I think, relaxing, reading a book or listening to the radio or some music, that'd be lovely. But the younger people relax. It's their downtime. It's their screen. So it's very hard because I run a sleep clinic, a psychology and sleep clinic as well. A lot of young people come into me and they have difficulty getting to sleep because they are wired. They're on the blue screen, but not only wired for the colour of the screen, but it's the impact of what's on the screen. Information. That can be really exciting. It can be really detrimental. It can be bullying. It can be scary. And it is so addictive. And you know what? The number of apps that are developed for supposedly leisure that are also developed by the gaming companies because they want you to stay on. So it's addictive. So it's a really tough gig for young people.
I can understand. Well, I can understand that. So look, we're going to take one more short break. Then the question I really would like to know is how can you assist? And once you work out the why, what can you do for somebody who's got perhaps a child that isn't sleeping well and doesn't really know where to turn? What should they do? And we'll be back to answer that question in just a moment. My guest is Sarah Blunden. We're just about to find out what you need to do if you're finding it difficult to get your child to sleep. Because it may not be their fault.
It may not be their fault. In fact, my job is to find out what the problem is. Is it a physical...
That's the why again.
That's the why. Is it a physical problem? And they don't come to me for a physical problem. They probably go to their GP or their medico, the paediatrician. Why are they, what is the problem? Let's say the child can't sleep by themselves. It's a very common one. They're little, or they're scared of the dark, or they want to be with mum and dad, or the sister, or the dog, or they want to watch TV all night, or they want to have their phone on. There's something that's stopping them from being able to get to sleep by themselves.
And it could be a very obvious thing that nobody can see.
That's right, that's right. And
because the lights are out.
Because the lights are out.
I mean, as silly as that sounds.
Well, it's true. And the environment of sleep is really important.
Right.
And we have a certain predisposition to think what we need to get to sleep. It needs to be dark, it needs to be quiet, you need to be by yourself, and you need to have the door closed, for example. Well, sometimes a little person doesn't want to have the door closed and they don't want it to be completely dark. And mum and dad think they need to be completely dark because that's what you need to do. So it's unpacking all those shoulds and musts, and we think you should have this, but we haven't actually asked you. And
gee, that's a valid point, isn't it?
Yeah. Little people, because the wisdom would be that we have a dark room. In fact, I don't know of any child that's come in to see me in the last 20 years in my practice that wants a dark room. They want some sort of light. Why? We want to be able to orientate ourselves. We want to find out where we are. We want to feel settled.
Yes, I think that's even for adults. You
absolutely.
know, to have some glimmer of light somewhere.
Yeah.
I leave a light on in one of the rooms that I can see if I get up during the night.
So do I. So do I.
Otherwise, I bang into the wall.
For adults, sleeping is something that has a lot of baggage to it. We adults think, worry, have different worries than little children, little people. So my job is to understand at what age this child is, find out what their development is like, find out what the interaction, what the family's doing, what's happening in the family. Why do they want to sleep with mum and not dad? Why is this little person not able to open their door. There's a whole range of reasons. I have to go into a deep dive into the family. So it's really a lot of parenting, a lot of understanding little people, a lot of listening.
Yeah.
And little people, I love working with little people because little people can spot a fraud at 500 metres. They can spot you if you're trying to be nice or trying to be something. No. I love being with them because they're so raw, they're so natural.
Yeah.
They will tell you how it is if you allow them the open door to say how they feel. Yeah.
All right, got 30 seconds to tell us, why do we sleep?
Why do we sleep? If sleep is related to everything, mental and physical health. Sleep is the foundation of all good mental health and physical health. And if sleep goes off, other things go off too. And if sleep is improved, we can improve all of that stuff. It's perfect.
What a great way to end the chat. Sarah, thank you so much. It's lovely to catch up with you after so many years and just to hear that information. Fantastic.
Thanks, Malcolm. Lovely.
So, until next time on Our Time, we would love you to join us then. So keep yourself nice in the meantime. Bye.